Hey there, and welcome to episode number 12 of I'm Just Gonna Say It. I'm Aron, your friendly internet renegade, and today I want to talk some more about the subject I talked about yesterday. So, quantum physics, the double-slit experiment, and the implications of these things for spirituality. Here we go. By the way, if you haven't seen the previous video, watch that one first, otherwise it might not make much sense what I'm saying here. Link in the description. So yesterday we had a look at the double-slit experiment, and we learned that matter doesn't behave like matter until a consciousness looks at it or observes it. As long as there's no consciousness around to observe matter, it is simply a soup of possibilities of what states that matter can take and the probabilities that it will take that. But not until somebody looks at it, it will actually become one of those possibilities. So I want to talk a little bit more about that, because the double-slit experiment has been done multiple times since its conception, and in a couple of very interesting varieties actually. One was done by Dean Radin. I mentioned him before in my video on parapsychology, which is kind of about the same subject, so you should definitely watch that too if you haven't already. I post a link to the relevant videos in the description. Anyway, what he did was he set up a double slit setup in a vault, so it couldn't be, or a special vault I should say, like a lead vault that shielded it from any electromagnetic interference. And he had it just do its thing there. He run the experiment. And while that was happening, he asked participants at home, actually via internet, to observe which slit the electrons went through, or actually to will it through either the left or the right slit. And the cool thing was that actually did collapse the wave function.
But physicists were completely baffled by this. So they decided to peek and see which slit it actually goes through. They put a measuring device by one slit to see which one it went through and let it fly. But the quantum world is far more mysterious than they could have imagined. When they observed, the electron went back to behaving like a little marble. It produced a pattern of two bands, not an interference pattern of many. The very act of measuring or observing which slit it went through meant it only went through one, not both. The electron decided to act differently, as though it was aware it was being watched.
So basically, the little eye in the video, you can replace that with somebody trying to see it with their mind's eye. Now that's pretty awesome if you think about it, because that means that mind affects matter. Now this has been said for centuries, of course, but it's always remained a kind of magical concept, but science has proven it to be very real indeed. So much for that experiment. I'll post a link to the PDF of the experiment if you want to read the whole thing. It's pretty interesting, so I would do that if I were you. Anyway, what are the spiritual implications of this research? Basically, it means that when you look around you, everything you see is being generated by you. And I know that sounds outrageous or sci-fi-ish or magical or whatever word you choose, but it's the reality. And well, there might be some people who are saying, yeah, wait a second, the double-slit experiment is done on the quantum level and it only applies to quantum particles, very small particles. But that's not entirely true. It has been repeated by now multiple times with clumps of up to 60 molecules, so it seems that this strange effect actually also applies to everyday matter, to call it that. So, yeah, you generate everything you see around you. Not by yourself, of course, but together with all the consciousness that inhabit your surroundings. A famous thought experiment about this was thought of by the granddaddy of quantum physics, Schrödinger, and it's called Schrödinger's cat. He mentioned that, so let's imagine a box with a mechanism inside that releases a toxic gas when a random reaction in the air occurs, which you know will happen every so many minutes, for instance. Then you put a cat in that box and close it, and you open it 30 minutes later. And then the question is the cat dead when the reaction occurs? Or doesn't it die until you open the box to have a look? Now, it's a bit of a gruesome way to think about it. There are better examples, I must say. And a nicer one, which I thought of myself, is let's imagine a thought experiment where the whole world truly starts believing that humans can fly, for instance. Now, this, and I mean truly believe, to the point where they would, without a problem, step down the Grand Canyon, jump it down the Grand Canyon. I mean, so if that's a very hard thing to do, to actually convince yourself of that. But if it were possible, and if all the people on Earth would do it, I'm pretty sure we would take off flying, actually. Let me know in the comments what you think, and I'm gonna leave it at that for today. Love y'all. Like, share, and subscribe, and comment if you have anything to say. See y'all again soon. Bye bye.